Will there ever be a World of Outlaws vs. High Limit Speedweek? The BC 39 starts today. Pennsylvania Speedweek forges ahead at Lincoln Speedway. And the Outlaws issue 2 quiet penalties to sprint car competitors. All that and more today. Let's go. It's Tuesday, July 1st. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. Real quick before we get started, if you like what we do here 5 days a week, please consider subscribing to the show on YouTube, the podcast places, or like and follow on Facebook. It's free to do that everywhere, and it will help keep you in the loop on everything happening in dirt racing. You can watch full episodes of the Daily on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. You can also listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and at DIRTRACKR.com. Full show transcripts are also available at DIRTRACKR.com/daily. We are across 43,000 subscribers right now on YouTube and past 41,000 on Facebook, with the goal for 2025 to be, I've set it at 50K for both platforms. Last night, despite there being rain all around, Lincoln Speedway was able to get a mostly completed program for PA Speedweek. The feature was called 5 laps before the scheduled end because of rain hitting the speedway, but Freddie Rahmer picked up the win, topping Anthony Macri and Aaron Bollinger. Macri started on the pole. He led a bunch of laps, but it was Rahmer getting by and being out front at the right time when the weather hit. For a fourth, with a fourth and a win so far, Rahmer now leads Danny Dietrich and Macri in the early Speedweek standings. That was Rahmer's first sprint car win since Lincoln back in May and his third total sprint car win of the season. He actually hadn't won a PA Speedweek race since 2023. Down through the top 10, nice runs for Cody Hartlaub and Cameron Smith in 4th and 5th. And Danny Dietrich, he entered the night as the points leader. He ended up 6th. Kyle Larson did indeed race last night. He finished 7th after starting in the 8th position. There was no Christopher Bell in attendance last night after he originally planned on competing this week in the 69K, at least for a few races. The Kreitz team announced early yesterday because of the weather and Bell's schedule that he wouldn't be able to race at all. They did reveal that he will drive the 69K at Eldora in a few weeks during the King's Royal weekend with High Limit. Back to the weather, though. Hat tip to Lincoln for pushing ahead and getting last night's show in. I'm sure some folks stayed away looking at the forecast, and the track could have easily canceled last night, but they made it happen and got the show in. Up next for Speedweek is a trip to Grandview today. Elsewhere last night, the Summer National Show at Old Number 1 Speedway was canceled because of weather. The Hell Tour will continue today with a trip to Benton Speedway. Jason Fager, your overall points leader on the late model side, with the weekly titles so far going to Fager, Ryan Gustin, and Brandon Shepard. And at last check, Trevor Neville still leading the modified national standings. Fager leads all drivers with 4 Hell Tour wins so far on the late model side, and then Trev Jacoby has the most modified scores with 3. Up at Mohawk International Raceway, Stewart Friesen picked up his 4th Super DIRTcar Series win of the year last night. He topped Matt Williamson and Peter Britton. He battled early with Alex Jankowski, but pulled away at the end, winning by more than 3 seconds. The other weekend SDS winner was Mario Clare at Cornwall on Sunday. He held off Dalton Slack to earn a guaranteed starting spot into the main event at Super Dirt Week later this year. Headed to Land of Legends on Thursday, Jankowski leads Williamson by 16 points in the standings. Matt Shepard, a bit surprisingly, only 4th at the moment and trailing by 78 markers. A weird thing to point out, though, Shepard the only driver in the top 14 in the Super DIRTcar Series standings with a win through 8 races. All the other drivers to win this season don't run full-time and are just well down the order. 2 other races to point out that are happening today. First is WISSOTA Late Models at Hibbing Speedway in Minnesota. 5,000 a win plus other WISSOTA divisions. And I'm mentioning this one here because former NASCAR driver Ryan Newman will be in attendance racing a dirt late model. If you're in the area, it might be fun to stop by and see Newman race. Also, the BC 39 begins tonight at the dirt track at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Tonight's prelim program includes a 30-lap feature paying $5,000 to win, and Wednesday's 39-lap main event will award $20,039 to the victor. Last check, we were really close to 70 midgets on the pre-entry list. That includes all of the touring teams, plus plenty of other interesting names to watch for. That includes some taking advantage of an off week for the Sprint Car National Tours. Justin Peck is listed, as is World of Outlaws crew chief Clinton Boyles. Ricky Thornton Jr. will hop in a Reinbold Underwood car. Announcer guy Dylan Welch is racing, and High Limit race director Mike Hess. Past winners of the BC 39 include Kenan McIntosh in 2024, plus Justin Grant, Buddy Kofoid, Kyle Larson, Zeb Wise, and Brady Bacon. Interestingly, though, no repeat winners on that list. Grant is the current USAC National Midget Championship leader. He leads Cale Drake, McIntosh, Jacob Denny, and Kevin Thomas Jr. One driver we won't see tonight is Carter Sarf. He had a nasty crash a few weeks ago at Pevely while leading the Extreme Outlaw Midget main event and has not yet been cleared to race. Hopefully he's feeling better here soon. All of the races I mentioned here and more are listed on the streaming schedule over at DIRTRACKR.com/watch tonight. Yesterday, for my Patreon and YouTube channel members, I put out a call for questions. So we'll be sprinkling some of those in to the show this week. The first one I've got is from Chris. He's a regular in the comment section around here. He asks, how much longer till Woo acknowledges high limit? He means the World of Outlaws. And then he says, any chance they have a Woo versus high limit Speedweek? Barring some sort of drastic shift in leadership, I think it's plausible that the World of Outlaws never acknowledge high limit exists. Obviously, Chris referring here to the fact that the Outlaws announcers and social media and PR folks steer well clear of any sort of mention of the rival sprint car series by name. And on the flip side, High Limit has no issue talking about their drivers competing with the Outlaws. As the newcomer, though, it is in their best interest for High Limit to do that. And I know this always seems to stick in the craw of sprint car fans that the Outlaws do this. And at this point, I just hope it continues because it's funny. As for a World of Outlaws versus High Limit Speedweek, you're going to get to see that twice in 2025. It's called the Kings Royal and the Knoxville Nationals. But between streaming services, sanction fees, sponsor stuff, ticket sales, which racetrack, I think there are just too many obstacles for something like this to ever happen. That's a lot of stuff that two sides who aren't super friendly to each other would need to agree on for some sort of speed week or weekend like that to happen. And all of this is on top of there just generally being, like I said, not great vibes between the two sides. So Chris, don't hold your breath on either one of those things really ever coming true. Finally, in recent days, the World of Outlaws issued 2 quiet penalties stemming from the proceedings at Huset Speedway and the High Bank Nationals weekend back about 2 weeks ago. First, Kerry Madsen has been fined $1,000 and placed on probation for the remainder of the 2025 season. If you might remember back to the opening night, Ian Madsen was involved in a nasty crash during heat race action, and under the red flag, Kerry came out onto the racetrack to check on his brother. He was visibly upset with both track and safety officials who tried to keep him away from the accident scene, and then later we watched him yell at Riley Goodnow, who appeared to start the incident. The Outlaw penalty report reads, quote, during the Huset's Hustle feature on Wednesday, June 18, under closed red flag conditions, Madsen walked out onto the racing surface, a violation of World of Outlaws rules and procedures. Then, as race officials attempted to clear the track, Madsen physically abused and pushed 2 track officials, unquote. This quote is actually incorrect because it wasn't the feature, but you get the idea. The other penalty was issued to car owner Jason Myers. He's been fined $500 and also placed on probation for the remainder of the season. The penalty report on Myers reads, quote, on Friday, June 20, during the Huset's High Bank Nationals opening night, Myers made inappropriate physical contact with a World of Outlaws official in the work area during a yellow flag period, unquote. Checking out racing action from that Friday, I believe this stems from a crash that started early in the night's B-main. Several cars were involved when Jai Corbett got turned around and Myers driver Spencer Basin was collected. The Myers team and other crew members replaced the front end on the 14, but after the completion of work, the car was not allowed to return to the race. And I've highlighted Myers here on the screen. He's wearing the gray shirt as we watched, the Myers team and several other crew members work on that car. There was even a moment on Dirt Vision where it sounded like announcer Johnny Gibson started to respond to Basin not being allowed back out, but he actually caught himself. After officials pull Basin's car back into the infield, very briefly, you can see what looks like Myers running towards tech official Ethan McDermott. You can see the shadow here on the screen. And then as Dirt Vision fades away to on-track action, I've got it circled in red on the screen here. You can see what looks like a guy in a gray shirt running towards McDermott. But my assumption is whatever Myers got the penalty for kind of happened in that moment, right, as things kind of faded back to the race. Myers likely upset by officials not allowing the 14 back out, which also seemed to catch Gibson by surprise. If you'd like to see the full penalty report for yourself, it's available over at worldofoutlaws.com. That's the Daily Show for today. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Hope you have a great Tuesday out there. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.